Arcane Season 2. Let's get it.
Hello, yes, I have returned. I am alive. I was very sick last week. I made it out. I feel a lot better, at least physically. Emotionally, I'm a little bit distraught because I finished Arcane Season 2, and that hurt quite a bit. So I want to talk about it. This is going to include my thoughts, feelings, opinions, things that I liked and disliked, as well as spoilers. This show was something else. And when I say that it's something else, I mean it truly, wholeheartedly. There's an experience that you get from this show. These characters, this animation, this voice work, all of the incredible talent that goes into creating and crafting something so meticulous as this. It just feels energetic. It just feels like it has a ton of passion woven into every inch and corner of this experience. There's a lot of good here, a lot of great, a lot of phenomenal, a lot of beautiful, beautiful moments that escape your mind, your reality. But there's also moments here that feel unforgiving, stuff that feels a little bit iffy, a little bit and I say that with a lot of respect. I love this show. I love what it's done. I even love how it came to a conclusion. But I would be lying if I said that it is entirely crystal clear. There is caveats within here, some issues. For me, the burden of Season 2 comes with time and not enough of it. There is a lot of stories woven into this season and everything is rapid paced, high octane, to the point. And while this is standard, perfectly fine storytelling at a very fast speed, there is a drawback to it. And it's one where it doesn't allow moments to linger. It doesn't allow important moments to stay and be digested, to be appreciated more than what could have been. So while what you have is perfectly fine and applicable, what could have been is something a little bit more drawn out, a little bit more powerful, a little bit more poetic, a little bit more emotionally fulfilling, allowing to sit on those beats just a little bit more. And for me, that's what this show boils down to at its worst, that it just is too fast. I want to make it very clear that it doesn't destroy the show. It doesn't necessarily, for me, ruin the experience. It doesn't negate what they have been able to accomplish and what they're able to show and weave throughout this entire experience. What you get is still a phenomenal showcase, a powerhouse in animation and storytelling, but potentially what it could have been is something a lot more sincere. And realistically, I think this comes down to a horrible timing situation. This is a difficult show to produce, and only having 9 episodes, an hour each, and telling them in 3 parts every 3 episodes, maybe you could push out another season. But if you're trying to fill in space, if you're trying to allow things to linger just with the story that is given to us, there's really not a whole full-fledged season there. So for example, let's just say they tried to do a season 3, then you're looking at potentially a different issue, that it's too slow, that it's too drawn out, because perhaps only another 3 or 4 episodes would have done this season a lot of justice, would have allowed other scenes to be extended, reactions to be smoothed out, a jarring juxtaposition between 2 different reactions right next to each other, going from something that's very emotionally full to something very high octane in action, to something that might be more simple. It is perfectly fine to put those 3 things back to back, but when you start to repeat the process, when you start to cram more and more stuff in, those singular points in time that you want to love don't have enough time to love. The conclusion for this would be, in a perfect world, in a perfect scenario, another 3 episodes, maybe 4, I feel would elevate this final season far beyond, and really allow those singular moments to be filled out with a lot more texture and a lot more time. I love these characters. I love how they've come together. I love the experiences that they've gone through. There's so many different things that you could just love about each and every one of them, like how they think, how they act, how they feel, just the obvious full range and capabilities of a character, how they're written, how they talk, how they approach themselves. Like, there's so much to indulge within and truly love and appreciate. Everyone has a bit of everything for someone, you know what I mean? What is impressive is how they all kind of tangle together, and you're never really confident on where they plan to go. this character going that direction, this character doing that, this character achieving this, and that character potentially dying. Like, there is great twists and turns for pretty much every character. Fortunately, Heimerdinger, you kind of got left in the corner. That's unfortunate, but hopefully you're in another dimension, happy and thriving and living your life. Even though I believe you can't technically die and you just get reborn back into the world. That's a whole different story. But I have a lot of like personal favorites here. I think Isha is a beautiful addition to this story, to this world. How she aided Jinx to really humanize her and bring her back down to reality, to what season 1 kind of ended off with. Beautiful. How Isha went out, the Vanda, the powder symbolism, absolutely torturous. Echo had a really great experience with an alternate dimension, seeing a different life, what could have been. And that world is still tragic, still filled with a lot of sadness, even though there's a lot of pockets of good that is different, that has changed. Not everything is safe, not everything is happy. However, seeing Echo and Jinx thriving in that dimension was beautiful to see. When you've come to know Jinx to be such a traumatized, struggling individual, seeing her healthy, happy, mentally, emotionally, physically okay, feels really, really good. And seeing Echo get his moment to shine, to thrive emotionally, to really fill out his character, feels fitting in a really strong way too. Vi and Caitlyn coming back together, obviously really nice. I'm kind of iffy with their ending. On one hand, I think there's enough there of it, but I do wish there was a little bit more. Obviously, they have been through a lot. Their relationship, their emotions for each other, the tension and physicality between them is pure chemistry. It's wonderful to see it unravel and experience, and it's almost sincerely toxic. Like, during all of this nonsense and all of these other characters, this background noise that is so chaotic, these two are cemented very deeply within each other. You get a very infamous scene that people have wanted for many, many years now, which it's great to see, but it's shrouded by all of this like misery and despair. So it can feel oddly misplaced, but also oddly reinforces them. Like, this is who they're seeing. Nothing else matters, just what's between them. For me, it is like a double-edged sword, but I'm glad that they're so cemented within each other. I'm glad that they've come full circle, and while I wish there was more time to acknowledge their feelings and their thoughts verbally a little bit further than what we actually get towards the end of the story, I'm still happy. Jinx is a very interesting one. I love where they took her character, and I was curious on how they would deal with the Isha situation, what type of mental state that she would be in. It spirals out of control rapidly. I love that Echo is able to bring her back. Unfortunately, we don't know how, but being able to talk to her as a human, as a person, and not as this monstrosity of a being that people have viewed her for so many years now, is really refreshing, especially with the alternate timeline Echo and Jinx appetizer. It's like a step up perfectly, leading towards this moment that Echo does save Jinx in this timeline, brings her back from the edge and gives her a reason to continue moving forward, to continue living. So when you get to the ending, where it's incredibly sacrificial, it feels a little bit off. The emphasis put on bringing Jinx back from the edge, only for it to be washed away towards the end, feels a little bit suspicious. And while that scene is very beautiful and very heartwarming, it just didn't feel like Jinx in that moment. Like we were missing a piece of acknowledgement, like we were missing very crucial information that supported the type of development, going from her trying to blow herself up and jumping off a bridge in front of Echo to this new reinforced individual, someone that has a new lease on life. You could say it is in the purpose of removing herself from the equation, saving her sister, dying with her father, Vanda. But I don't believe it. There is a level of cope, but I think she escaped. And after all of the little investigation that I think everyone else had done, I've come to the conclusion that she did escape. And the more I think about that, the more it makes way more sense for her character. To remove herself that I think everyone else had done, I've come to the conclusion that she did escape. And the more I think about that, the more it makes way more sense for her character. To remove herself from the equation, to allow other people to live, to be free. In Silco's words, to walk away from it all, she faked her own death. But how could she survive the explosion? There is one frame where you see a shimmer dash right before the explosion takes place, straight into that vent. And that ventilation leads her back down through to Zorn, and she could disappear. But why would she do that? She made amends with her sister. She could build a new life. That is true, but only if Jinx could believe that herself. See, Jinx wants what's best for her sister, and potentially in the state of mind that she was in, what's best for her sister is her not being there. Thorn, a reminder of what she'd done, the innocence that she took. Jinx still killed people. She is still technically a wanted criminal. Even though they could try and quell it and say that she's changed or lock her up in prison, do you think she wants that life? What better way to start fresh, to allow your sister and everybody else to be free from you? And then you go all the way back to episode 1 where it first started. Not Vine and Caitlyn leaving on that airship, but Jinx in episode 1 as Powder, where she said one day she would fly on one of those ships. Also, there's just too much murkiness surrounding Caitlyn's investigation into Jinx's death. They couldn't find a body or anything relating to Jinx, but the top half of her grenade, only for Caitlyn to look through the ventilation system and seeing where it could all lead to, having a look on her face that aids to that idea that she escaped. It could be cope, but I think it's meant to be ambiguous. Whatever side you choose, I think is kind of fitting. But the biggest surprise to me really kind of took the spotlight, honestly. Jace and Victor. Their storyline, their conclusion, oh my goodness, like, it's so beautiful, so poetic. Seeing Victor go through this phase of everything that he isn't, throwing away his emotions and identity, his guilt even, like he no longer was that person. And in the end, what kind of breaks through all of that mold and that mechanized form that he's turning into, that he was, is his partner. Jace getting through that husk and to Victor's core, his humanity, bringing him back, making him human once again. And then this sequence of animation is superb. So incredibly visualized and sad that they go out together. What more could you want? In the end, I could sit here and ramble for hours on all the stuff that I love. And Bessa and Mel, the Black Rose stuff, the whole war arc, so fulfilling. The old timeline with Vander and Silco, beautiful. It feels very somber seeing this all come to a close, this story. But I'm happy to know that it's just the beginning, that we will continue to get more stories in this universe and potentially see more of our favorite characters. This might be the end of Jinx and Vi's story, but it's just the beginning for something much, much bigger.
Hey man, shout out bro, man. Yo.
Hello,
Shout
yes.
out, bro. I'll probably like name the title of this video Arcane was mid, so I can get some like for some clickbait, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, shout out bro. And GTN, when I walk in, her pussy get wet. She wanna fuck, then I say bet. GTN, I be a vet. Please do not get me upset. They know I be a vet. Bruh, GTN type shit.